Welcome to the Ordinary Marathoner Podcast.
Hello and welcome to the Ordinary Marathoner Podcast. My name is Coach Scott. I'll be your host today with my lovely, lovely guest, my lovely wife, Stefany.
I had to come down here to make sure he gets the podcast out.
Welcome to the show. And it's a wine version of the podcast. Cheers.
That's how our week is going.
That's just how this is the way we roll on a Sunday night in quarantine.
Yeah.
Crazy times. So yes, I don't know if I necessarily need to apologize.
You do. Please apologize.
Well, I think it's been so I try to put at least one podcast out a week. I've been trying to schedule guests, but trying to schedule in this time is really difficult. So next week we have two guests scheduled for next week. I'm very excited about. One is Dick Hoyt. We're going to be doing that podcast Tuesday. And then we have Erin Shepard, which I haven't scheduled, but we're going to try to do that one in next week. She's one of my clients that I'm training for Ironman, half Ironman Des Moines, Iowa in June. We hope.
Hopefully.
We hope. Now, I know one of the things that I do on the podcast typically is I go through races that our athletes from Team Ordinary are doing. We have the race calendar on our website, teamordinary.com, and I like to go through that. Unfortunately, I think every race is canceled.
Yeah.
Because of the coronavirus, every race is pretty much canceled, and it's sad. It's sad, and I don't even know how to address it.
I don't know what to say. I mean, all I can think about is just the worst things that can come. I'm one of those people that freak out about everything, so...
Right. So, and we've talked about this a bunch of times, and we've attempted to do the podcast. We've actually attempted once together.
Yes. I kind of understand where he comes from.
It's hard. This is hard stuff to talk about, guys, because, it's like on the one hand, we want a very uplifting podcast. We want to talk about achieving things people that are achieving things that they've never done before. We want to talk about people focusing their lives on improving other people's lives, and all this, how it intertwines with our sport of running and triathlon and all that good stuff. And
it's really hard right now.
Right.
It's very hard.
It's all overbearing, the anxiety and the stress and really the outright fear that's going on. It's hard to just throw that out there and just be like, yay, let's run.
We can't do that. We have to, talk about it.
Right. I don't know. We've had a lot of people that had their A races, like they've been training for months. And who could have seen this coming?
Yeah.
And races being outright canceled or being postponed. Boston Marathon was postponed from April to September. I have a client doing that one, and now it's time to how do we refocus and and it's like on the one hand he was training hard, and he was saying, like, as the news started coming out, we started talking about, well, what will we do? Yeah. Do you dial things back? What do you do? And I think the advice was, and this is my advice for anyone who still has a race that may or may not be canceled, is that the only thing worse than having your race canceled is to have your race not be canceled and you're not prepared because you thought the race would be canceled. Well, of course, everything's being canceled. So on that note, I think you got to just try to do your best to sort of put your best foot forward, keep training, and even if your event is canceled, what are you gonna do? Just kind of like fall into depression? Right now, a lot of people it's miserable out there.
I think a lot of people. I honestly feel depressed.
Right. Well, a lot of people out of work, and there's a right to be scared. We have issues too. I was looking for a job. Now, how many hands am I gonna shake? Yeah. And how many people are gonna meet, shake their hands, and sit down for an interview? You had your hours cut.
Yeah.
And we're in decent shape. Like we're not gonna lose our house. We're not gonna we're not in that bad. But there are people that are.
Yeah. Yeah. Oh.
And it's just and it's fearful, and when all the toilet paper is off the shelves, it's it's crazy. Can I tell my joke?
Yeah. Not only did I have to listen to this joke all week, I had to listen to it in the previous podcast recording. Go ahead, tell your joke.
I don't even know if I can. It's a good joke. So But we go no, but we've been so I think we've been pretty much following the quarantine. We don't want the baby to get sick. Although it seems like this disease, the younger you are, the better the outcome. But still, you concern when you have a kid.
Yeah.
And obviously Sam too. Sam back and forth between her mother's and here, and has been mingling with her friends, and on occasion we're trying to
friends here.
Right, we're trying to kind of watch that and keep and control that too, just to try to minimize the possibility of exposure. But we have been going pretty much almost on a daily basis to go to the grocery store.
Yeah.
And it's like, all right, we got to pick this up. One thing here, one thing there. Get in, get out. Try not to touch a lot of things. Sanitize your hands when you get out. Your mother wore the mask today, and gloves.
Oh, she did that with me the other day.
It was fun. It's the only bad part was when we separated and I tried to find her. She was wearing a mask, so I couldn't tell what she looked like. But everyone was wearing a mask, so it was like they all look alike. Anyway,
they weren't all wearing masks.
There were a lot of people wearing masks.
Really?
Yeah,
Interesting.
Well, it wasn't the majority, but it was a significant number. But yeah, so we're at the point now where look, you're not going to starve. The stores have food. You may not find your most favorite thing all the time. There's certain items that are gone. A lot of the frozen vegetables are gone. But definitely you go down that paper aisle, and the whole shelf is wiped out. The toilet paper is gone. We've had the great toilet paper rush of 2020. The coronavirus toilet paper scam. Wouldn't it be great if this disease was released by the toilet paper companies?
Well, like Scooby-Doo. I told you about that meme, right, that I saw the other day.
You meddling kids.
It's
like the Charmin bear.
Yeah.
You meddling kids.
So I saw a meme the other day. I'm sure a lot of people have watched Scooby-Doo, when the monster was usually something someone you didn't expect. So the meme was Scooby-Doo taking off the ghost mask, and it was Zoom video conference.
The Zoom video, right? Because everyone's working on Zoom from home.
Yeah, or Charmin.
Right, Charmin. So, but you go down, the whole entire aisle is empty.
Toilet paper. Sorry.
Right. Thank you. Thank you for acknowledging. The whole entire aisle is empty.
Is that why we're doing so well?
Yeah, because I'm actually I'm the Scott toilet paper fortune.
Anyway.
So, you knew that everyone went in and they took the toilet paper first. That was all gone. But apparently then they went to the napkins. Because I guess the napkins are probably the next in line when you think of, all right, what could I use? I mean, in a pinch, you could use tissues. So they're all gone, right? In a pinch with the tissue, I guess, And then after that, you'd have to go to the paper towels. And they were all gone too. But man, paper towels. Mm-hmm. That's rough.
That clogs your...
That's rough. Too. That's the whole joke. Is that's rough.
Yeah, that's rough. And I'm sorry. Once you hear the joke too many times, it loses its.
I'm sorry.
Yeah, you'll
I'm
clog
sorry.
your toilet. Your.
But it's crazy. But the thing is too. We're not. I mean, this isn't like when you see the videos of Venezuela when the cabinets, the shelves are all empty. There's a lot of stuff that's still. Some items are gone. Mm-hmm. Like I was saying earlier today. If you have a specific recipe that you're trying to follow and you got to go, you may not find every single item. Mm-hmm. But no one's, you're not going to find nothing. There's certainly food to sustain life, our way of life.
Yeah.
And granted, we live in the suburbs and it's a little bit more laid back here than the city. So maybe in the city things are different, things are worse. And things have, but things have changed. The attitudes changed. The shelves they're not fully stocked, but you can survive.
I do have to say, when I was trying the zero waste stuff, well, I'm still trying. I'll never get there, but I bought those reusable napkins.
Yeah,
right.
You
so today I was a little backed up on laundry. I don't know why, because I've had a lot of time this week.
Yeah,
I should have been doing laundry every day. So all the reusable napkins were in the washer machine, and I try to go get paper napkins.
That's right. By the way, she said reusable napkins.
Yeah. Yeah.
If we get to reusable toilet paper, we're in trouble.
No, I won't.
All right. There's a line we cannot cross.
Yeah. We don't even have a bidet. Maybe if we had a bidet, that'd be different.
Maybe that's one of the things we got to look for. That'll be our next home.
Well, those are the zero waste people laughing at all of us right now while they're sitting on their bidets.
They're scrambling for toilet paper.
anyway.
But no, life has changed for us in a lot of different ways, and that's one of the reasons I didn't put the podcast out there is just it's been hectic.
Yeah,
It's been hectic.
This week was we didn't. So we took Ellie out of daycare. That was her first.
We took Ellie out of daycare about 2 weeks ago. Before they closed the daycares outright, so now you can't even go to daycare if you want. Mm-hmm. So we've had her home for 2 days, and which means
you mean 2 weeks?
2 weeks, which has been different.
And then our babysitter,
because you're working from home and I'm not working, so for me it's like all right. Basically, every day I get about 2 hours, which is her nap time, and then I get at night I try to get my workout in, or in the morning I try to get a workout in, or both. But yeah, you have to prioritize things, and I'm sorry, but as much as I hate to say it, guys, and I love you, my daughter and my exercise routine has to. Without the exercise routine, there's no Ordinary Marathoner podcast. So that comes first, and unfortunately, the podcast had to suffer. And of course, now that I have a captive audience that can't leave their house
and are dying to listen to some podcasts.
Right, they need entertainment. God damn it.
Yeah.
I haven't been putting one out, so. We're going to try to make a more concerted effort. And now we have your mother here. So one of the things that we did was obviously the news in New York City started getting worse and worse as the days were going by. And of course now they're treating all the people that were loading up the bars and the restaurants from 2 weeks ago that we were yelling at. But it's crazy out there. So we made the decision on Friday, which is another reason I didn't get the podcast out on Friday.
Yeah, that was my fault. Around noon.
1 o'clock.
Yeah, around noon. I
around
was like,
12:30.
we got to go get my mom. They're talking about shelter in place up here starting tomorrow, Monday.
And one of the things we're worried about specifically is like, what if they just lock everything down immediately? No one into New York. No, it's very easy to close New York. You just close the bridges and the tunnels.
And I did not want my mom.
And we didn't want her mother just stuck in New York City. So I went and got her. Really, I made great time. I couldn't believe how empty New York City. I've never enjoyed driving in New York City. It was lovely.
Yeah.
I'd say lovely.
Thank you, babe.
But so now.
What a good husband I have.
No, but we do it. So now I have my mother-in-law here to watch Ellie during the day, and we'll be able to hopefully produce a little more content. I've been staying off social media. I think a lot of that for me is I don't like. I like our people.
I do too.
I like hanging out and mingling with our people. I'm concerned for them, and especially, we talked about finances and people losing their jobs. I walked into the liquor store the other night, and this poor woman was buying, and she had 2 bottles of wine, and the guy's like, and she's like got this sad look on her face, and the guy's like, oh, 2 bottles tonight. She must go there all the time. And she's like, yeah, I just got laid off. I'm an attorney. I just got laid off. She looked like she's like 25 years old. And what do you do? And we don't know. The people that we know probably are good friends. We know a little bit better their situations more than others. And how do you cope with this? Obviously, exercise is a good one.
I don't know.
But from situation to situation, and one of the ways I like to look at it, and we talked about this too, is the problems are so big, they're so massive. Whether it be economy, whether it be the disease itself, dying, but it's so much to worry about. And one of the things that when I feel like I'm getting overwhelmed, and I feel like but there's nothing you can do to control that. So I say the way I phrase it is like I like to get small. I like to worry about. I just focus on the things that I can do now. We had one morning we woke up. It was a really crazy day. The stock market was getting pummeled, and it was just in the beginning of all the lockdown talk and all this stuff. And I'm like, all right, let's we ran out of milk for Ellie. Let me go to the grocery store. Let's just do the things that we need to do to be safe for us and get the stuff done for us. And then, then you worry about helping others,
Our neighbors are elderly.
And one has emphysema.
And we offered help, but I think they're too proud,
He's a little proud, so he doesn't really like to accept help. Yeah. But the offer's been put out there multiple times. We had a guy, our neighbors are moving, and they hired someone to paint the house, and we didn't know. But this morning...
Oh, yeah, when we were trying to sleep late because my mother is here to help us.
So we can finally sleep late.
Yeah, because she wants to sleep
Sunday
early
morning.
so that she can get up early for Ellie. And so we're enjoying our sleep. And 2 doorbell rings.
Yep, ding, ding.
Ding, ding. Of course, you're like, what
We're
the
like,
heck?
what?
So
Right.
we run down the stairs.
So I got to go downstairs
disheveled.
because I'm like, I don't want anyone to open the door. I don't want anyone, I open the door. Right. The guy was disheveled and he just looked, he was limping.
Mm-hmm.
He wasn't really dressed. He wasn't really like cleanly or anything. He just was kind of like, he looked out of place. And he's like, I'm painting the house across the street.
I fell and hurt my leg.
And can you make a phone call for me and call my aunt who dropped me off, and I need her to pick me up. And he stood like 6 feet back, and he was like very cordial.
We didn't open the door,
But
the glass door.
But these times, like when people are like, when these kinds of times happen, you have to be very wary of what's going on and what you're doing.
Yeah, because you never know. Crime can go up. That's my worst fear.
Yep.
You know.
Yep. It's like you just you got to make sure that you defend yourself and do you don't want anyone coming in your house and taking your stuff. Or hurting your family, really. Mm-hmm. And so we made the call, and he walked back to the house, and and then later we saw the car come up and pick him up and leave. So we were all right, happy that it was legit, and it wasn't.
He was disheveled because he's.
And then it turns out,
painting the house.
He's a painter.
He's gonna dress up to paint.
Not like he's wearing his Sunday best, to go paint the house.
Yeah.
But. No, it was good that his story was good. It was good that we helped him. I think in normal times,
we would have
might have gone out and said hello and
driven him home probably.
Right, I would have said, hey, do you want to ride home?
Maybe he would have even accepted like the ambulance being called, but who wants to go to the hospital nowadays?
Right. You can't go to the hospital. So yeah, we asked him if he wanted 911. He said no. I don't know if he broke his foot or what. He was definitely hobbling around. I felt bad for him, and I it's a struggle, it's like one of those things where when someone rings your bell, you really want to help them, but in this day and age, how do you look at them in the eye and be like, more than likely the factor here is 10 times as much that he's out to do something than he really painting the house next door that he fell.
And can I just say our dog was useless?
Listen, let's not talk about our dog on the podcast. We don't want anyone knowing that our dog is useless.
No, he was just useless this one time.
He's always like
at the door. He's usually barking.
Maybe he sensed there was a kind soul at the door. They say that they have a sixth sense.
Our UPS people and our FedEx people are kind souls at
maybe
the door
they're
too.
not.
Oh, maybe
they're not. Maybe they traffic in other things. He's got like a nasty bark. He scares everyone that comes to the house. And then this morning he did nothing. He's like, that's a good guy.
That's a good guy. Yeah. He needs a little help. Limping.
Help that guy. I'm gonna go back to bed. It's snooze. But it's been a crazy time. It's been a crazy couple weeks. So I do apologize for not getting the podcast out a little sooner. I will try to do better. Like I said, we have Dick Hoyt. And we have Aaron Shepard coming on this week, so those will definitely get out.
Yeah.
And
I can't wait for Erin to talk about how great of a coach you are.
Yes.
It's coming from
That's the whole reason I'm having her on.
Because coming from me, I'm biased here. He's my husband. I have to say these things. But he's really a good coach.
But I tell you, she's doing really great. And, Glenn Eisenstein, who's training for Boston, still training for Boston, was doing really great. And now it's as much as a mental struggle right now as it is a physical one, because both of them are doing so great and they're working hard towards achieving their goals, but you just don't know if those races are going to happen, and it's hard to train when you train for that idea, that thought of, hey, in a couple months I'm going to run through this finish line, I'm going to put so much of my heart and soul and sweat and guts into this thing, and then it may not happen, and it's hard. But I think in the end, if your event gets canceled or if your events gets postponed, there's always going to be other events. Number one,
sign up for a virtual race.
We do have our virtual race, and that's not getting canceled.
And there's others too. I mean, if you want,
no, there's only one virtual race. It's our
Okay.
OrdinaryMarathon.com.
Yeah.
To help the Sam Fund.
One.
And
sign
then
up for that one, and then whichever one.
After that, we'll tell you other ones later.
And my whole point is match one that is, went along with your race, because you train so hard and you want to get there.
Just
and
do
you
something.
Just
do something. And I got to tell you, like, I've seen stories. I know Scott Frassard actually today did a 5K. His 5K was canceled, so he ran around the yard until he got to 5K. Well, who knows how big his yard is? It could be like
That would drive me nuts.
I know.
I mean,
We have a pretty
good
good sized
big,
backyard.
but
I thought
still.
about if we could if we ran enough laps around the outside, we could blaze a path, a trail around the shed and out the back. It's probably a good, I don't know, eighth of a mile. Maybe not that much, but
I haven't been running, so don't invite
You
me
don't-
to these things right now.
but who knows? Who knows? And then maybe we'll install that nice track surface around the
Yeah,
outside.
right.
Anyway, when times are better. But listen, I think the message is be safe, be cautious. I know you typically you're a little bit more cautious than me. I grew up in the era of no bicycle helmets.
Mm-hmm.
And I'm a little bit like that. Sometimes I'm like, all right, they're going a little bit overboard. But somewhere between it's people thinking this entire disease is a hoax versus people thinking everyone's going to die. Somewhere in between there is the right thing to do, and you have to kind of make that decision for yourself.
Wow.
How much you're gonna, we're locked down for the most part, but we do go to the grocery store once in a while.
Well, you have to.
Right, and we don't go. I mean, we go when we have to.
Well, I do have to say we didn't take Ellie to the park this week. Last week we took her to the park, but we decided,
which was probably a bad thing. I don't even think we really thought it could. We did wash her hands. We did all that stuff, but we wanted to get her out because she'd been kind of cooped up because of the daycare situation. Yeah. So we did get her out. And again, I think then it was still the disease wasn't here. It wasn't. It was. Yeah, we're hearing about it. Yeah, they're canceling school, but I always get on the teachers' cases because they cancel school for snow days all the time.
Yeah.
And this year we had no snow days.
And
but they still found a way.
And all of a sudden now we're teachers.
But they still found a way to get their days off.
Kids. We got to educate them. I do have to say, I read this interesting article the other day about, how they don't teach life skills in schools. So this would be a perfect time
for parents to
do that. Teach them how to do their laundry. Teach them how to, even schedule their day. That's a life skill, to sit there and say, here's a
list of things you need to accomplish by the time you go to bed.
And here's a schedule. How you're going to, that's time management. How many kids get taught that? I mean, their time is managed in school. So I find it very interesting, and I think we should do that with Alex. Sam.
First, we should probably do it with us.
Wow, this has been a very bad week. Yeah.
Well, it's been hard. It's this is a weird week, and it's one of those things you got to fight through. And now we're in this new normal, this new dynamic. How long it's going to last, who knows? I mean, I've heard 9 months. I've heard 18 months. I've heard a month. I've heard, I fully expect.
And even if it's 2 months, would it repeat every kind of like flu season? Is this kind of like a flu where you have to take precaution and, and do all that stuff for the flu? Is it going to be the same? Do we have to go into lockdown every 2 months?
Right, and that's kind of what I worried about, and that's one of the things we talked about earlier was what the results of coronavirus at the end of the day when this is all done, when the results come out, if it's worse than H1N1, then maybe it was right for all of us to go through all these measures, the preventive measures, the protective measures that we've done.
I think it's right. I think we have to do this.
Well, here's the thing: is that H1N1 killed 12,000 Americans. They the estimates are 50 million or so actually had it. If coronavirus stats aren't up to that level, you're going to have another fight on your hands. You're going to have the people saying, "See, I told you it wasn't so bad." And we shouldn't have destroyed our economy and closed all our shops and killed all the jobs. And then the other people are going to say, well, the only reason the numbers are low is because of the measures that we did take, and it was right. And then, yes, the problem is that, look, these diseases come out every other year. The Ebola.
Yeah, but this one might be
the MERS, the SARS, the avian,
We're not doctors, we're not.
No, we're not, but the problem is...
We don't know.
But you can't... It's like you set a precedent like this, and now all of a sudden... So the Ebola scare killed 2 Americans, and after that, I don't think anybody else really got it. Or a couple people may have gotten it and survived. They might not even killed 2 Americans. The 2 Americans might have got it and lived. But you heard about it, and it was nuts, and it was all over the place. Now, what if the country? Would you shut the country down for that because of the word
but
Ebola?
maybe they spread differently. Who knows?
Well, that's the thing is we don't know.
Exactly.
We don't know.
So let's just take precaution.
But the thing is, I feel like if we take the precaution every single time, we'll never get out of the house.
Yeah.
And that's the problem, is that I just don't know. I don't know what the right thing is. So on the one hand, yes, you have the people that are saying we've gone too far. This is crazy. This is insane. You guys are all jerks for taking away our liberties and freedoms. And on the other hand, you have the people saying we're all going to die if it wasn't for you. Screw you for going out to the bar and you're irresponsible. And can we just say, all right, this is a crazy situation. People are going to react differently. And you have to understand everyone's kind of frame of mind entering this thing and find a nice peaceful medium. Because on the one hand, it doesn't make it cannot make sense what we're going through, and on the other hand, it makes perfect sense.
Yeah,
it can do either or.
I don't know. I
think just don't know.
It's gonna reshape our world.
It already has.
No, it's gonna reshape like our whole system.
And maybe
the whole telehealth being discussed. I mean, in New York, we passed the whole notary over the Zoom video or video chat. I mean. You know, like how...
But maybe that's a good thing, too. We've talked about automation a lot in the last few years, and sometimes you say, well, why didn't they automate that? Yeah. Why didn't they automate that? Why do I have to go to the DMV to get my driver's license when I can just snap a picture of my phone and then they could send me my registration or my license renewal? Like, what's the purpose? And maybe this is... And granted, it's not a good thing, but maybe there's... one of the things I said was, all right, Sam doesn't have school. She's going to stay home. Now all these parents are going to learn about homeschooling. And maybe 90% of them hate it. And it's annoying and it's terrible. But maybe there's 10% of them that are going to be like, this isn't such a bad option. I mean, you think about it. And the way I thought about it was this. You can have your kid, and there's a lot of failing schools. Ours is not one of them. Mm-hmm. But there's a lot of schools out there that are failing schools.
I know all about failing schools.
And you hear about the arguments all the time. And people don't want their kids going to the failing schools. Well... I'll tell you what, you have a choice now of sending your kid to a failing school or having them sit in a living room and put on YouTube and get taught by a Harvard professor. Not that Harvard's that great, because it does produce a lot of garbage out of Harvard. But, that was with honors. Anyway.
Oh, really?
We watched that movie.
Oh, that was the movie I loved.
With Joe Pesci. It was great.
I love that movie. Watch that movie now that you have all the time in the world. Watch it on your bike.
With honors. There you go.
Yeah, there we go.
Harvard produces a lot of garbage. Anyway, you can have your kids sit at home, turn on the computer or the TV, and get taught by the most qualified teachers in the world, theoretically. Yeah. Why are you sending them to a failing school where their very livelihood, the drugs, the violence, whatever could be in that school going on, could put their lives at risk, or their future is certainly at risk. I don't know. I think it's an interesting point. I just use that as an example of the things that. They're already doing they're doing at-home visits with their doctor, which was never something that you could do. Yeah. Like, what do? You put your ear up to the webcam? Like, do I have an infection?
I don't think that's.
Do I have an infection? Look at my eye. It's a pink eye. I don't know.
Well, I'm sure you've watched Star Trek, right? Where they use the little wand thingy to see if your health.
Maybe we'll get that.
So maybe we'll get that. Where
they're talking about the temperature gauge now. Is like, shh.
Maybe, but this one actually told you exactly what was wrong with you. So now maybe we'll all have one of those at home, and then the doctors.
Oh, can I tell you something really cool? So we have, well, not really cool, but it was interesting. We have a listener of the podcast. Because this part's sad. Sadly, a relative of theirs was getting chemotherapy.
Oh, no.
And they were driving home in Florida, and the president was giving a speech near Florida. And they were going through a checkpoint that everyone had to go through. And they were driving through the checkpoint. And these people are actually very anti-Trump to begin with, which was kind of interesting. And the cops went over and said, listen, you need to pull over right now.
Oh, okay.
And they were like, well, what? Now he's thinking, what did I write on Facebook about the president? What did I do? And they pull him over, and they said, well, your car was tested positive for radiation.
Oh, yeah, because
the person had been in chemo.
Yeah.
Isn't that crazy? It's just insane what they can do. But I feel like, by the way, we're running out of time, so let's cut this short. It's insane what they can do with technology. Anyway, we're going to cut it short. Listen, we wish you guys the best. I hope you guys are doing...
healthy.
Yeah, deal with this as best you can. Fight through it. Like I said, one of the things I like to do is if it's overwhelming, just focus on the task at hand. Get things done that are going to help you and save you and help you and your family first. Then worry about all the gigantic things around you. And
focus on, I mean, I hate to say this, focus on the positive, but try. It's very hard, but try.
We got to wrap it up. My wife, Stefany, she's lovely. Thank you for making me do the podcast. And remember, every day is an ordinary day except for every day that we're living in now. But anyway, you can still make it extraordinary. Get after it, guys. Keep training, keep working hard, and we'll talk to you this week.